welcome to CODA Cloud, and I'm Kevin Evans. And today I am joined by Lara Goldstein from our devsecops security team, right? So, Lara, how's it going?
Hi, Kevin. I'm Lara Goldstein. I am a product manager in our DevOps security solution within Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which I'll be talking about today and going into all of the fun details about that.
Awesome. So, folks will know, right, out in the community, I got loads of love for DevOps processes, tools, platform engineering, but I also wear a security hat as well, right? It comes out once in a while. So, bringing these both together is paramount, right? And best practices.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kick things off with we'll start off with we've got some demos. Just want to make everyone clear there are demos, right? Because everyone loves a tech demo. But we're going to kick stuff off with looking, well, just a bit of an overlook over the Almost Learned documents because I think it's a great way of getting started. And I'm going to let Lara just give us a overview of what it is and how it's come about. So while I'm sharing my screen, Lara, do you want to just kick off and explain what it is and how we get going?
Of course. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a cloud-native application protection platform, also called a CNAPP. And a CNAPP is essentially an all-in-one platform that unifies security and compliance features to be able to prevent, detect, and respond to cloud security threats. The whole idea of the CNAPP is to integrate a ton of different cloud security solutions that have traditionally been siloed into a single user interface. So we have solutions for cloud security posture management, detecting any sort of proactive risks or vulnerabilities within your cloud resources, how you can mitigate those. We also have workload protection, where we're detecting threats in runtime. So if you have a container running in a Kubernetes cluster, is someone trying to run crypto mining on that container node within the pod or whatnot? So we will be detecting that with workload protection. Then we have infrastructure entitlement management, monitoring your identities, making sure you're following best practices, and DevOps security, which is where I work. And DevOps security is really essential to the CNAPP because one of the main objectives of a CNAPP solution is to embed security into the earliest stages of development. That way, developers and security professionals can work together and fix those flaws early on, which is a trend that you might have heard referred to as shift left, and essentially prevent those issues from happening down the line.
For sure, right? Because security folks don't know how to speak to developers, and developers don't know how to speak to security folks, right?
There's a lot of friction.
It's an art, right? Like, developers just want to land their code, run it somewhere, right? And that's where infra operations would come in. Yeah, exactly. And that crypto mining example, it's happened, right? Like we've seen that
all the time.
in sidecart containers. So not even in the main container, right? Like in the sidecart container where little crypto agent running, right? So it's baking it into your recipe and patterns at the beginning is going to reduce the operational workload at the end, right?
Oh yeah,
During remediation.
so much more. Yeah, so much more cost effective to start secure than having to secure everything later on, because you'll have an infrastructure as code template that goes to provision thousands of runtime resources. So you can fix those 1,000 resources in runtime, or you can fix them at the source. And that's the whole idea of DevOps security and Defender for Cloud, really truly shifting left to fix at the source.
I know where I'd rather fix it. I'll be quite honest. If I can automate that, right, instead of going through my checklist of remediations afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
Now
you might be a bit biased, but
yeah, right. I mean, code to cloud, right? But it's for me, it is a bit of a culture shift, but it does encourage better practices, right, within tech teams at the end of the day, right? Like change is difficult. You've got deadlines, we know, but we're security by design, right, is a term that's being used. So baking that into your recipes, your patterns at the beginning, it's just going to be great. So,
and like something we hear. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Lara. Go for it. No, please.
I was just gonna say, like, what we hear from our customers, some of the challenges that they talk about. I mean, half of them in a study said that they don't integrate security into DevOps pipelines. So they're not actually catching those vulnerabilities at the source. The ones that do, or even the ones that don't, they know that vulnerabilities aren't decreasing. It's not like they're getting fewer code vulnerabilities. They're still like the number just keeps growing and growing, especially as they continue to adopt these cloud native application services. And they can't go to developers and say, fix everything we have here. That's not efficient. Developers don't like that. I mean, everything gets held back. It's not great for the business. So it's all about prioritizing with proper insights. Like, what are the most critical vulnerabilities that you need to address that save the developers time and still make the business more secure? And then we just know that DevOps and security, developers and security, they haven't always been the best of friends, to say the least. Yeah.
That's normally my role in the middle, right? Diplomatic mission, as I like to call it. And just
right.
I call it like, I was speaking with customers this week, and I've always come up with the term walled garden, right? So I give somewhere safe for things to grow, but it's actually surrounded, right, with security controls. Now, before we get on to tools, right, because we're gonna have to talk about Azure DevOps, Azure, right, or GitHub, right? That's eventually going to come up. Yeah, GitLab as well, right? I keep forgetting that, right? I know Microsoft's on a mission to integrate with as many third parties as possible, right, and as many clouds as possible.
Exactly. It's not about where you run your applications. For us, it's about how do you secure them in a unified way. We don't want you to have different tools for AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud. We want you to have one single tool where you can get all of your insights and all of the data that you need.
That's awesome. Now, I just wanted to bring up some stuff because, especially when I started off on Azure, we had like the security center, we had security tools all over the place. We had a portal for pretty much every product, right? Especially when it came to security. But I think it's safe to say that we've started to build out a more centralized platform, right, for security inside of Azure, right? So we've got the Defender for Cloud option. Is the I'm gonna get it wrong. I'm gonna scroll back up. But is the Defender for Cloud DevOps Security within the same portal inside of the Azure platform?
Yeah, and I'll demo that. So it's within Defender for Cloud. It's just our one-stop solution for anything related to cloud security. And of course, DevOps does play a role there.
I mean, I'm just bringing up some of the screenshots what we got here, but this, if you're like me and you're in Azure every day, it's common, right? We're seeing some common themes here, right? So reporting back on remediation. There looks like there's some weighted options, but I don't want to steal your thunder, Lara. But is there anything on the MS Learn page that folks should look into to get started, or any recommendations? Or
I would say if you are getting started with DevOps security, we have a lot of great guidance here. So if you want to onboard to GitHub or GitLab or Azure DevOps, we have the onboarding docs that are within the table of contents over there on the left. And you can also just click there, connect your Azure DevOps repository. So we walk you through step by step, and we'll give you guidance for essentially anything that you can do with DevOps security and Defender for Cloud. We're going to outline it here. We're going to tell you what steps you need to follow. We're going to tell you what the benefits are. So a lot of data here that you can refer to and just get all the information you need.
That's awesome. Okay. Right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I know everyone's hungry for the demo, right? Lara's going to show us her magic, right? So I'll stop sharing.
Let me share.
Oh.
All right. There we go. So this is Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And within Microsoft Defender for Cloud, we're going to show you your security posture across multiple different cloud environments. So we have support for Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. We're going to let you know if you are taking enough steps to proactively secure your resources from any threats. And then we're also going to be giving you alerts when we do detect something happening in runtime that is malicious or it's suspicious, something's not right, we're going to throw you an alert for that. And DevOps security is a foundational part of Defender for Cloud. So we do have our own dedicated page for it, which is called this DevOps security page. And here you're able to see all of the repositories that you've connected to Defender for Cloud. You can see GitHub, you can see Azure DevOps. For each repository, you're able to see the number of code scanning findings that we discovered. The red is going to be high severity. So here we have 9 high severity findings. We have findings for code vulnerabilities, secrets that are exposed, and any sort of open source dependencies. And really the goal of this page is just to give you that visibility, give you an overview of what you have.
That's awesome, because that's a question I get asked all the time, right? Especially with security folks. Is everything important? Or is there stuff that I should be focusing on first, right? Like, as in terms of priority, where am I exposed the most, right? So it looks like we've got
That's
like
a
a
good
bit.
question.
Yeah,
We'll
for
go
sure.
into that more. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just jumping around here. So if I look at one of these repositories, and I'll look at this DevOps demo one, within the repository, you can see different sorts of recommendations. So one of the nice things about our product is we do integrate with GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps, and of course, GitHub Advanced Security for GitHub. They have really great dependency scanning, CodeQL for code vulnerabilities, and then they have a really great secret scanner. So we'll integrate with GitHub Advanced Security to show those results within Defender for Cloud. And you'll be able to see anywhere where you do have exposed secrets. And then something else that we're bringing there is we're adding in infrastructure as code scanning, because we know this is a really critical part of a cloud native application protection platform. You want to know where you have any sort of misconfigurations prior to deploying these resources to runtime. And you can see that they're all noted by severity. That way you can prioritize a little bit better. And we'll get into more ways to prioritize, but just right off the bat, you can see different sorts of recommendations here, like you're not using the latest TLS version within your web application. We're showing you the branch where we discovered this finding, the actual file that it was discovered in, the tool name, which in this case is Template Analyzer, and when it was detected, so you can view the finding within Azure DevOps or just view the affected repository from here.
I love that. It's telling us lots of great information, but not too much, so it's not overbearing, right? And more importantly, which branch it's in. Right?
Exactly.
So
You fix it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a huge part of it, just giving you this visibility into your different findings, but that's definitely not it still. Like, we still have more capabilities. And some of those are just around securing your DevOps platform. So the actual platform that you are hosting your code on, we want to make sure that that is as hardened as possible, so you're not exposed to any additional vulnerabilities within your software supply chain and the application lifecycle. So we're going to show you things like you have an Azure DevOps service connection that grants access to all pipelines, and this definitely isn't the most secure way. You should be using the principle of least privilege. If all pipelines have access to a service connection, then if an attacker gets in, they can leverage that service connection in any pipeline that they create. And who knows where that can connect to? It could connect to Azure, it could connect to a different cloud, it could be used to push a container. And we'll go through getting that visibility between the service connection and what it also has access to later on as well.
So this is going out to the community right here. We've all done this right at the beginning. It's somewhere you shouldn't be doing it, right? But it's like I've created one service connection. That's all I need to reference, right, in my pipeline at the end of the day.
Right.
Reduce the blast radius, and this is a great way of gaining visibility of it, right? Of ensuring we're looking at those best practices, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, so from what you can see already, we have a lot of different recommendations for you. We're giving you all of this visibility, but as we kind of talked about earlier, this visibility, while it's great to have, it's not the end story. Visibility isn't enough. We need to help you actually prioritize these issues. So within Defender for Cloud, we have a few different ways to actually do that. One of those ways is through something called attack path analysis. So here we show you potential paths that an attacker would be able to take to actually exploit your resources. And one of the first examples we have here is focused on cloud, but it's telling you that you have an internet exposed Azure virtual machine that has high severity vulnerabilities, and it actually has access to an AWS EC2 instance that can move over and connect to an RDS database that has sensitive data. So we're just showing you the full path cross cloud. And while we have these for runtime, we also have these for DevOps. Like we have them for pre-deployment as well. And let me just navigate to one of those here. I might have skipped it, but what we have for DevOps is essentially telling you that you have an exposed secret in a publicly accessible repository. So that's not something that you want to, if you have a leaked secret, you want to make sure that it's not in a publicly accessible repository. So it's not the most exciting attack path in terms of like what it can connect to, but we know this is risky. We know you want to get rid of that secret more so than secrets that are in private. I mean, obviously you should be revoking all secrets that are ever leaked, but if you only have 5 minutes to make a quick change, this is something you want to make sure you're fixing right off the bat.
This is common, right?
Yeah,
you know, if you haven't got the policies in place or like the tools running constantly, right, to alert you on this happens quite a lot, right? We see it all the time in the media. Like, so at least it gives you the ability to invoke remediation controls as quickly as possible, right? To try and reduce the, you know, what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah, and bringing up just like things that happen and what we hear about on the news or what we read in our cyber like security updates, or even developers when they're hearing of new vulnerabilities. It's really critical to know where you're exposed and begin to prioritize that remediation. And we also have the Cloud Security Explorer for that. So that lets you hunt for different connections. So let's just think about the log4j vulnerability or OpenSSL vulnerability. Right. You want to prioritize that remediation. So if I'm running Kubernetes clusters, I have container images that can potentially have those vulnerabilities. I'm going to start by saying I want to see all of my container images that have vulnerabilities where the severity is equal to high. These container images are actually being run by containers. These containers, maybe they're privileged and they are being run by Kubernetes workloads, so pods that are exposed to the internet. So right off the bat with this query, I would be able to see where I'm most at risk for any sort of high severity vulnerabilities. I can even change this to be remote code execution vulnerabilities. I can look for a specific vulnerability like the log4j vulnerability. So this is really helpful for runtime, right? But like as a security admin, or any security persona, if I see this, I know that my container image is vulnerable, but what do I do with that information? How do I bring it back to the developer to have them remediate that issue? And that's where Defender for Cloud DevOps Security really helps out, because we also have this information that the container image was pushed by a code repository. So you can see that tracing between code to cloud, like the name of this show, giving you that full visibility so you know exactly where that vulnerability did come from, and you can go back and fix it at the source. So we'll run this query. It'll take a minute or so, but when it's done, we can see this container image, all the vulnerabilities that are present. Then we can see exactly where it was actually pushed from. And we can go to that pipeline run, see who triggered the pipeline, and work with those personas to actually remediate these issues, rather than kind of being in the dark as to where you can fix what's needed most.
That's awesome. Like, just run the query, pull it back, and understand, right? Because container images, a lot of folks just pull them straight off the internet, right? I'm not going to name any names, right? But everyone's got their favorite hub, right, to go and get that from.
Right.
But it's understanding, how do we harden that, right? How do we come up with certified container images? And this is the kind of data that's going to help you build that case, right? Or educate, developers and operators internally, right? So I love the fact that it gives you the CVE IDs as well. Everyone loves a CVE, right? So
yeah, and you can learn more about each one. We have different links for you to go to, so we're giving you that description and that intelligence that you need.
It's awesome. I like the fact that you chose AKS there, or container images more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm showing AKS, but it's not all we support. So we are a multi-cloud solution, and we're going to detect if your container image was pushed to a Google registry or an Amazon registry and where it's running. So we have full support for any cloud environment, but of course we are biased towards AKS here at Microsoft.
There's a lot of love for AKS, right? It's one of the most used services in Azure, right? So it's good that we've got the tools for it as well, right? When it comes to security. So awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's one example. That's for container images, but there are other use cases too where we know that misconfigurations or vulnerabilities can occur. And maybe that's in a storage account, for example. Everyone uses storage accounts, whether they're in Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud. We're all deploying data into our storage accounts, and most companies are shifting towards infrastructure as code now. So these storage accounts are likely being provisioned through infrastructure as code, and they may have weaknesses. So in this case, we're going to look for storage accounts that are exposed to the internet. We can also see if they contain any sort of sensitive data through Defender for Cloud. But here we're really interested in seeing where they're provisioned from. So the code repository that actually provisions these templates, so then we can know what template did these resources actually provisioned from, and how can we fix that underlying template to then remediate all of these storage accounts that we see in runtime, because they're all coming from the same exact infrastructure as code template. So we just want to fix it at the source and make sure it's secure there.
Securing patterns, right? At the end of the day.
Right.
So we can see there, right? That's Terraform deployment. So it would be a TF file somewhere, and it needs to be a code change, right? To make this more secure. So
Exactly. And this is still not as left as we would like to go down the development lifecycle, because this is still in runtime. Like, we're still catching these issues in runtime. And it's really helpful, especially in that example with the container images where you have a vulnerability, because we know net new vulnerabilities can show up. We have the 0 days. But we still want to go more left. So instead of waiting till we get to runtime to remediate this issue, we are scanning your infrastructure as code templates in the development stages. And one of the neat things that you can do with DevOps security, and I'll just switch gears here, is we have something called pull request annotations. So I can click on a repository here, click on manage resources, and turn pull request annotations on. And that will comment on my developer's pull request when we do find high severity, medium severity, low severity infrastructure as code misconfigurations. And I can show what that looks like as well.
That would be awesome. There is nowhere to hide. It's even on the code comments.
Yeah, exactly. Like full traceability. So let me bring it up. But yeah, so this goes back to the same example that we were just looking at, where we had that storage account that allowed exposure to the internet. So we actually have a comment saying that you shouldn't allow anonymous public read access to your container. Also, something that we had that I didn't show is we can check to see if secure transfer required for the storage account. So are you encrypting data in transit? So that's a recommendation we have in runtime, but it's also showing up here within the source, within the infrastructure as code template. So when the developer makes their pull request, they can see exactly what the issues are to remediate them then versus later on. Save the time now so you don't have to go back and do the same work later on.
So code approvals. If you're approving the pull request, right, from your buddy, you got to read these comments, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. It's pretty
and
impactful.
you can set different policies, like you can say that it shouldn't be merged until all of the comments are resolved. Something along those lines. So.
And we work like that, right? We even our open source offerings, if you're trying to contribute, you'll see it in GitHub, right? Or whatever.
Right.
Go back and remediate this before you even get to a peer review, right? Or a code review, right? So this is amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we try to help our customers. We help them by giving them that visibility. We help them by finding different ways to prioritize the issues. And then we help them remediate, work with developers to remediate those issues, save time from remediating during runtime, and just remediate at the source. Because if we don't fix this infrastructure as code template, then even if we fix the issue in runtime, it's going to show up right again when it's deployed again. So we don't want that. We want to fix at the source. And that is what Defender for Cloud is doing with DevOps security. There are some other cool little features that I didn't share, but just quick note, we do show you how your service connections in Azure DevOps and GitHub actually connect to cloud resources. So you can see if you have a pipeline that can authenticate as a service principal that has owner permissions to your Azure subscription. We just want to give you all the information that you need to make sure you're securing every part of the development lifecycle. So not just about code, it's about the underlying platform as well, and also about connecting it to runtime.
That's awesome. I have some questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
See, we've got Terraform there, right? It's loved out in the community, or tofu as well, right? Like that, I mean, that's heating up as well.
Yeah.
Bicep supported, right? Yeah,
of
obviously, right? I just wanted to double check, right?
Yeah, of course. We support Bicep, Azure Resource Manager templates, CloudFormation templates for AWS, Kubernetes, like Helm charts, configuration files. We support it all.
That's awesome. In terms of like plugins, right? Because I get asked this. There's obviously a lot of third parties, but how are we tackling the plugins, right, for code analysis and configuration checks. Is that becoming more in house now? Are we starting to develop that more in house, or yeah, how does that look at the moment?
That's a great question. So it is a mix. So we do leverage advanced security. I don't know if I have it actually enabled on this repository,
That's
but
okay.
we have GitHub Advanced Security, and that's doing secret scanning, dependency scanning, and code scanning for any sort of vulnerabilities. So we can ingest all of these findings. And then we do have a tool that we call the Microsoft Security DevOps tool, which can run within your CI/CD pipelines. So I might have that set up here. And within this tool, that like the task that you run in your pipeline, you have the option to include different sorts of open source tools and Microsoft native tools. So we support Bandit, we support ESLint, we support Template Analyzer, which is for Bicep and Azure Resource Manager templates.
Yeah.
And then we have an anti-malware tool. So you can use a variety of those tools to actually scan for what you're interested in, depending on your code base. You can also just remove this line completely and we'll run all of our tools.
Like a capture all, right? I kind of like that.
Exactly.
I might slow the pipeline down a little bit, right? But
Yeah, I
it's
mean, yeah, why not?
capture all, right? Because that's something I get asked a lot, right? Is they come to us because we've got like a breadth of the platform, so to speak, right?
Right.
I know I work for Microsoft, but that security platform is pretty cool, right? Like we've done a lot of
Yeah,
work in that, and it's good to see that we could just come to one place, right, and include all the tools that we need to do those code analysis. So
exactly. Yeah, just all in one. And then you get the extra benefits with GitHub Advanced Security. You get some advanced scanning, the non-open source versions, but regardless of what you're using, we're going to show you the results within Defender for Cloud, so you can get a mix of everything, and then we're helping you prioritize that.
awesome. Okay. Is there anything else you want to show us inside the DevOps, or?
I think I showed you a lot of the big parts of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here that I don't think we can ever fully cover it, but I hope you all get the idea of what the potential is and how developer friendly we try to be by showing all of these results, especially the GitHub Advanced Security ones, just directly within the repository. We don't want your developers to have to leave the portal and go to Defender for Cloud. Like, they should be able to stay in Azure DevOps, GitLab, or GitHub and let the security personas deal with Defender for Cloud.
Awesome. I just didn't want to cut off any of the juicy bit. I've done that before when I've had people on the show, and then
Yeah.
they've gone, "Oh, one last thing," and then they bring out something that was just completely awesome, right? So,
Yeah, no worries.
is there any? Don't want to put you on the spot, right? But is there
Yeah.
anything that's coming out maybe this year that you can disclose, or is it all? I know we're under a lot of
It is
NDAs.
a little bit under NDA.
Oh, okay.
But just know we're investing very heavily in this product. So all of the things that you have already seen, we want to take those to the next level. Whether that's for remediation, how can we make it easier for you to remediate these findings, make it more automatic? How can we connect more code resources to your cloud resources? So the whole idea of going from code to cloud and doing that mapping, something we're also investing in, and basically just helping you make sure issues also don't get to runtime in the first place. So truly catching them at the source, shifting fully left. Lots of different things are coming out. I think it would be really great to share them, but we're working really hard on them and we're excited.
As I always say, we'll get you back, right? Once that becomes
Yes.
in public preview, we'll get you back, right? And we can go through those different options.
Yeah, they will be exciting.
That is awesome. I know we're wrapping up, but what I like to do, especially when we have teams on, is let's talk about how the community can engage, right? Because
Yeah,
we love feedback, right? That's what makes our products better all the time.
100%.
So I'm just going to share my screen. You provided some links, but if you could just give us a quick overview. So if you just bear
Yeah,
with me, I will work as fast as I can.
no worries.
Yeah.
I can start talking through it. So one of the links that Kevin will share is going to be just our tech community. So this is where we publish all different sorts of blogs. You can actually see a blog that I just wrote the other day called Bridging the Gap Between Code to Cloud. It's the second one there. So we'll publish blogs there. You can always comment on blogs, and then there are different places to comment within the tech community. So we're reading those comments and we'll get back to you if you have any questions. We love hearing feedback. We want to know what your feedback is. We are continuously trying to release new blogs and just giving you more visibility into what sort of capabilities we have. So that's one great way. The other way is going to be through the Microsoft Security Connection Program. So we have a customer experience team at Microsoft that works really hard to help us connect to all of our different customers. So this link that we have here basically describes what the connection program is, how you can get involved in it. We have different sorts of public communities where you can come to any sort of webinar. And then we do have private communities for you to test out all of the private previews that we have. So some of the things that I was just hinting to, those will be part of the private community. And we always love to get feedback early on and work really closely with our customers there.
That's awesome. Do you know what? I didn't even know this. I'm embarrassed. Didn't even know this existed. This looks really cool. Like, it's a really good breakdown of all the blogs that we've got, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Copilot images here, right? I'm seeing as well, right? So, but yeah, it's a great way of breaking down, the blogs. So go and check out Lara's blog on bridging the gap between code and cloud. I love how the symmetry's worked up, right? We've got the marketing on point for this episode, but yeah, absolutely brilliant.
We love Code to Cloud.
Awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing. But yeah,
great.
Lara, that was an amazing session. Some really great nuggets of information. Just want to say thanks for coming on the show. Again, we'll try and get you back, right? Maybe later end of this year or next year, because I want to see the new features.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would love to come back. Super fun. You asked great questions. And I'm just excited to share DevOps security with you all. I really love it, really passionate about it. So anytime I can talk about it, I always want to.
That is awesome. I take it folks can connect with you on LinkedIn, right? They can find you there. Yeah, 100%. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lara Goldstein, look me up. We can connect. And if you have any questions about anything DevOps security related, you're always welcome to reach out.
Awesome. So I just want to say thanks to everyone watching again. If you like what you're watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, repeat, and share. And we'll catch you on the next one. So bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.